All right, looks like we're recording. Welcome to the webinar. And today is November 6th, it's about 10:05 a.m. We're starting this webinar. Today's webinar is on how to have sales and marketing breakthroughs naturally and with clear thinking. And on the screen, you may see me, Sunil, Bhaskar, and Bill Blue. We'll introduce us. Well, I'll introduce everyone. Bill saying hi. He's got a little bit of background noise, so I've got him muted a little bit. But Bill, if you want to say anything, just make a signal like that. But it's great to have all of you on this webinar. Again, welcome. And again, the topic today is have sales and marketing breakthroughs naturally and with clear thinking. And so for those of you who don't know me, my name is Sunil Bhaskar. And, I've been coaching people now for about 25 years, going on 25 years. And really passionate about what I do. I'm a well-known author, written 2 books. One's called The Forgiving Universe, and the other's called How to Have More Money, More Time, Less Stress. And Bill and I have a program called the VIP 1-Year Academy. It's designed to increase your marketing audience as well as your engagement. And so today's topic is, of course, highly relevant. Part of engagement and part of building your pipeline is learning how to sell and to close effectively too. So a couple of logistics here. Make sure you submit your questions via the chat box on your computer or the Q&A box here. And we'll when we have an opportunity, we'll make sure we get to your questions. Okay. There'll be a point where we'll answer questions, but I'll be checking the questions from time to time. If there's anything that I feel I can enter right away, then I will get to that. All right. Okay. Let's see. So you're in the right place if you're disenchanted with the progress of your sales and marketing. And I really mean that in a very sensitive and endearing way, because Bill and I have been there from time to time as well. You may be stuck at a particular plateau, or you're maybe stuck in a failure to launch. You're not even getting off the launch pad. And we feel for you. And sometimes it can be an up and down thing. My early days, I used to work with realtors, and they would have up and down results. They'd make a sale and they have a great next 3 months, and then they'd be in the doldrums again. And so what we want to look at is how you can have consistent progress and really build towards something sustainable and significant in the next year. Because what's the point of just having incremental results year in and year out? You want to do something a little bit more exciting, perhaps. You're in the right place if you feel that you could, and you know that you could do better. Like you see people around you and you're like scratching your head. How come they're getting ahead in their sales and their marketing, and how come I'm not? And so you're in the right place today in the webinar if you're in that place. If you're ready to have a flood of the right kind of customers, you're in the right place today. You have a clear focus, or wish to have a clear focus for profit and satisfaction. I believe that both profit and satisfaction have to go hand in hand. If you're not satisfied, then it's very hard to maintain profit. Most people actually get burned, almost intentionally sabotage themselves in the profit, the business, when they're not satisfied. If you're looking at concretely with some real hard practices, and I shouldn't say hard, but concrete practices to get yourself up to the next level of your business game, then you're in the right place. A little bit about Bill Blue. I would let him talk, but there's a lot of background noise where he's at. But he's a professor of social media marketing, and it's more than 90 million hits. He's waving his hands, saying hello. Bill's an exceptionally great guy. I'm honored. I'm really pleased. Gives me no end of pleasure to work with Bill. It's been a tremendous experience. Bill and I, Bill also has a meetup reach of 16,000 members in our combined meetups now. And he's a much sought after speaker in social media and content marketing. In fact, he's on his way to Shanghai next week to talk to BMW, L'Oreal, and a bunch of other really large companies. So we're very excited about that as well. A couple of testimonials here for our results. Rob Ross is a good friend of mine and a realtor too. We've worked with him for about 4 or 5 years now. Actually, probably more than that. Probably more like 7 years. He still works with us, and he is had a 40% increase in income this year. That was actually last year compared to last year's results. He's still on track for a much more significant result this year, I'm very pleased to announce, and it's outstanding. He's used a lot of the distinctions that we're presenting here today. The other testimonial I have is from Charlotte Jacobs. Some of you may know Charlotte. She's a very well-known mentor and trainer, multi-million-dollar mentor and trainer for many other business people. And I was her first coach way back in, I want to say 2002 or 2001. And at that point, she was struggling, and she was really looking at how she could break into business and make things happen. She'd been struggling for quite a while in her business prior to that. But in 90 days, we tripled her income, and her confidence shot through the roof. Not only her confidence shot through the roof, but her stress levels go down. And that's the interesting thing we see with most people. Most people go back and forth between anxiety and boredom. We want to lead you through a beautiful space. You could call it heaven. You could call it close enough to heaven, which is a state of flow. It doesn't mean that everything is beautiful and perfect, but it feels that way. And it feels that way because you feel just the right amount of challenge and just the right amount of knowledge that keeps you in that really sweet spot. And that's very critical to understand in sales. And, Charlotte's definitely a great example of that. Again, Bill and I want to reassure you, we talk on this webinar, but everything we talk about comes from hard, concrete, on the street, smart experience that we've gathered. Sometimes through hard lessons, sometimes through easy ones. We want to help you avoid some of the hard lessons or the unnecessary lessons, perhaps. Some lessons you can't avoid. You have to practice stuff to really learn. But what we want to lead you to is having balance, having a deep sense of satisfaction, getting rid of the up and down results, and having maybe a little bit of an up and down, but the trajectory is upwards. Maybe even a little exponential, perhaps, for some of you. I've worked hard for sales, worked with people I didn't want to work with sometimes. We want to help you, and we want to reassure you we've been there too, but we want to help you get to a place that perhaps is a little bit better for you. A couple of things that I'm noticing a couple of questions here, and I will get to those questions in his comments. Thank you. You can make it too, is what I tell you. And that's the truth. I mean, people think that you have to be special, you have to be born with natural talents. They watch other people can sell better. But I've seen people who are introverted, very quiet, who can sell very effectively, probably more effectively than other people who are maybe more outgoing. And if you're outgoing and you think you can't sell, well, I don't think those are the real primary factors. The primary factors are some distinctions. The couple of distinctions, I'm not going to present all of them today because you won't have time. But I'll try and present to you some of the most salient ones that will make the most sense. You got to up the ante and a commitment to a future vision if you really want to really make it. Most people stay stagnant because the truth is they're not willing to invest, because it takes quite a bit of a bump. You may have to invest some money and some time on education, on some guidance on a daily basis to really make a difference. That's what made a difference for me. It still makes a difference for me. Just not too long ago, I spent about $22,000 on a coaching program, something I could afford, but it still was quite a bit of money. And it definitely put a gulp in my throat. But, I was determined to make a good return on investment. That's how you got to think. Got to think about how to be a good investor in your business, both in terms of education, getting guidance, some of the less tangible stuff. But you also want to look at turning it into tangible results for yourself. So my first coaching program, I had to pay $12,000 for a year of coaching. And I was only making about $40,000 a year as an engineer in 1991. But I was determined to do it because I knew I had to invest to get to the next level. I didn't want to just have ordinary results. I wanted to be extraordinary, what I did. And so I signed up for the program. It was a risk, but I made it happen. I was willing to commit because I really wanted to learn from my mentor and my coach. Was exceptional, had exceptional amounts of training and behind him, and the results as well. And I was also determined to make a return, and I did in a couple of months. So my invitation to you is to really look at how you can up the ante to the future vision today. Life is either urgent or has emergencies. I rather be on the urgent side where I'm not in panic, but I'm living life and business urgently enough to know I need to be ahead of the curve and generate investments so I can get good returns on investments. I hope that makes sense. My family, my parents made the investment in real estate in Singapore way back in the early 50s, actually late 50s. It was a risk for them, but they were investing in the future. And was it guaranteed? Of course not. But it's the whole reason why the three sons become successful, went to good schools, etc., was because they took that investment and they took that risk. It was a smart risk. You want to create strong accountability and structures and systems to keep your eye on the future. And that's critical. That was critical for me to have that daily accountability because it's so easy to get distracted. I know some of you are already distracted. Watching this webinar, you're trying to do other things, right? And it's very difficult to learn the art and science of focus unless you really practice it with someone else that you engage with on a day-to-day basis. All right. So what are the three aspects I'm going to cover today for sales and marketing breakthroughs? The third secret we want to cover is the first one we're going to cover today. Is the third secret. Number 3 is critical practice in sales. I'm going to cover this practice and share what it is. Okay, there's one real critical practice. There are several other practices, but this is one of the most critical ones. Secret number 2: there are 2 shifts in your mindset that you need to make in order to get to breakthrough levels of performance, and we'll review what this is coming soon. Secret number 1 is a 1-year plan. It will give you the whole blueprint. I'm going to just tell you the whole blueprint of how you can make this happen. The beauty is in the details, but we'll give it to you. We'll tell you exactly what makes a difference, what has made a difference for both Bill and I's clients in the past. And we'll do that. We'll make a special offer today at the end or towards the end of the webinar. So make sure you hang around for that. My promise is to share as much as I can and to answer your questions as best as I can within the time frame we have. Obviously, I can't cover all of this because we have, between Bill and I, we probably have about, I wouldn't be surprised, we have about 100, more than 100 distinctions and probably a total of 200 distinctions and tools that we could share independently. If we were to put, list out a book of informational topics, it'd probably be about that much. Can't cover everything. It's not possible, but we'll do our best to cover everything here. How we invite you to listen for how this will make a difference for you in your business and what practices you're willing to take on. And if you're not willing to take on the practices, I invite you to really stretch yourself and look, what is the source of that resistance to not doing that practice? Because some of what it takes to be great at sales is pretty basic. You got to practice certain things. If you're not willing to practice those certain things, then it can be kind of difficult. And then, be prepared to be surprised at what you learn. That's how I approach most things, is be prepared to be surprised in a good way. All right. So secret number 3, the critical practice. Okay. This critical practice is more like a little closer to the mindset, but there are certain tangible things that you want to do out of this. And the practice is to come from service. For me, selling is service. It doesn't mean that you have to be subservient and do everything people tell you to do. No. Coming from service means you're looking at how you can serve these people authentically and realistically. Because if you can't serve them, then, or you can't serve them, well, that's one thing. You can't sell them, right? But if you're not clear how you can serve them, and if they're not clear how you can serve them, then you're having what I call a nonsensical conversation with someone. Now, oftentimes what happens in a conversation, a so-called sales conversation, is that people, both the client or the prospect and you, are missing the mark. In other words, both of you are not getting clear on what the prospective customer wants. And until you find that out, you're not going to really have a sales conversation. You're having the beginnings of one. And that's not bad, but you want to really get to what it is that they really want, that's compelling enough for them to engage you. This could be a product or it could be a service. It's the same process. So you got to find out what they want. So how do you find out what they want? Well, you got to ask questions. And the biggest and greatest practice is the art and science of asking compelling questions. So what are some of the questions you could ask? Well, you want to obviously find out what kind of business or what they do as a background. But there are two really great questions, and you'll see me asking these questions if you come on a strategic session with me as well. It's very simple, basic questions. What are your objectives? Where do you want to go, or where would you like to see yourself? It's one set of questions. The other set of questions are what are your roadblocks? What are the things that are challenging you? What are some of the obstacles you have on your path to getting to where you want to go? Now, there are other questions as well that you can ask inside of this realm, but those are the two I want to give to you. And if you engage in that and start looking at those kind of questions with people, if you haven't been doing that thus far, I would strongly encourage you to start doing that, because you want to find out what people really want. And then what I try to gauge in the conversation by asking more questions is it worth their time and their money to engage in the service or the product? Now, this might seem pretty elemental, but most of the time people don't do this. What happens for salespeople is they either see the bling of money and then they forget about asking those questions. So they try to jump right to the sales, and then they're surprised when people kind of balk or stand back or give them all the reasons why they can't do the business together, right? And on the other side of it, some salespeople get nervous about asking these questions, so they let the customer dominate the conversation. And the customer will talk and talk and talk, which is good sometimes. But if you're not directing them to answer these specific questions, then it's very difficult to see how you can really serve them. So at that point, you're not serving them. And I don't mean that to bang you with a bat or the head with it. I'm not coming from that. I'm just saying that you may have to shift the conversation and ask them questions. So as you develop the art and science of asking questions, what you're doing is you're helping that person create what I call an outstanding future. Most people forget about what's so exciting about their lives, because they wake up in the morning and they're facing the same stuff and the challenges that they usually do, and they're distracted and they're upset, and they haven't had that cup of coffee, and they woke up on the wrong side of the bed, and the wife or the spouse didn't want to have anything to do with them, right? So you got to remind them of what their objectives are and why it's so exciting for them, or how is it so exciting for them. Now, see, your job as a salesman is in your communication styles to learn how to manage their state, in a sense, by asking these questions. You want to get them present to what's great about their business and where they want to go. What's exciting about the future. The present and the past may not look very great, but the future could look awesome, especially if you help them get there. So you got to show them that. But at the same time, you also got to show what are the challenges that they're facing, the reality of it, because otherwise it exists as a Pollyanna conversation. Oh, I really want to make another $30,000 and I need your system to help me do that. So I know it's really holding me back, right? But these are my challenges. I'm trying to get the expenses passed through my board and it's not working. Can you help me do that? Now you're cooking with gas and you got an effective sales conversation. So this takes practice. And this is pertinent to both online as well as offline. It's pertinent to online sales or online marketing, in other words, website marketing or web-based marketing, because it's the same principle. People respond to you by helping them identify in your marketing copy on your website. You have to help them identify where they want to go and what are the obstacles for them and how painful those obstacles can be unless they do something about it. See, the biggest pain for people usually is opportunity cost, or lost opportunities to get to a great future. They have an ordinary, comfortable life, but they're not getting to where they want to go, which is extraordinary. But to get to extraordinary, they have to do something a little bit more. They may have to work through some obstacles, and your service and your product is designed to help them get past that. So you got to show them that if they don't do that or they don't handle it, then they won't get to their future. Now, you don't have a scolding conversation. You have to do that gently and effectively through sales questions and asking questions. Now, this also results in no little pressure, by the way. Now, people are going to feel whatever they feel in a conversation, a sales conversation with you. I assure you, they're going to feel whatever they feel. Sometimes people are irrational. Sometimes people are just being human beings. They'll just jump to conclusions about you. And there's not much you can really do all the time about that. Sometimes you can handle that, but most of the time you may not be able to change that. However, if you ask questions and all you're doing is presenting choice for people, hey, you have a choice to take my service or my product, use it, get past your obstacles, and have your results in the next 6 months. Or you can go try someone else and do that, or you can just choose not to do anything at all. And it's your choice. And when you leave people a choice like that, technically there is no pressure. Pressure only occurs when people have the experience of no choice in the matter. Now, some people, no matter what you do, even if you leave them a choice in the matter, they're still going to feel like they're pressure. Not much you can really do about that, you know. But most, the people who come to you, they're already interested, they're already engaged. If you leave them a choice in the matter by asking them questions and seeing what the choices are, they're smart enough to make a decision. And that's how you want to learn that art and science of making questions. And I gave you 2 questions you can ask right now. Okay. Let's see here. A quick question. All right. Okay. So that's secret number 3. Going on to secret number 2 here. The 2 shifts in mindset that lead to breakthrough levels of performance. I'm going to share these 2 with you. The first one is based on the work of a Hungarian scientist, very well known. I have a tremendous amount of regard and respect for him, Dr. Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. Don't ask me to spell his word, but you can. Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. He's extraordinary researcher. He's called the father of positive psychology, and his distinction of flow, it's also a title of his book, is extraordinary, and it's what we try to adapt in our coaching as well. And very simply put, in flow, you're managing to get into a flow state. In a flow state, things are flowing. People say they're in a zone, producing results. They have a little bit of challenge, but they're okay with it. It's not, it's not like horrible. It's not like anxiety, and neither is it boredom. It's like in that sweet spot where things are just flowing for you very naturally, almost. And how you get there and how we do that in our program is by managing your challenge and skill level. So for some of you, you may not be very highly skilled in sales. Some of you are very highly skilled in sales. But if you manage your skill level, your challenge level, you can get to the flow state. So if you look at the graph here on your PowerPoint slide, and on people on the phone, just try to follow with me as well. You imagine a graph with the skill level on the horizontal axis on a graph and challenge level on the y-axis or the vertical axis. Now, if your skill level is very high and your challenge level is very low, it's akin to a PhD person working in a 7-Eleven store. You're going to be either very relaxed or very bored. Most of the time, truthfully, it's more closer to boredom usually. And even relaxation is not an exceptionally good state to be all the time, because we tend to just get too relaxed, and most people fall into boredom at some point. On the other side of it, if your challenge level is very high and your skill level is very low, it's like, not to harp on 7-Eleven people, don't write to me and complain about me being prejudiced against 7-Eleven people, but 7-Eleven people working to be a heart surgeon, they will probably be in a high state of anxiety, right? And most people kind of bounce between anxiety and boredom. A lot of people try to stay in anxiety. Some people stay in boredom. Both states don't really lead to a lot of productivity or performance or breakthroughs. Where you want to try to get to is a flow state where your challenge level may be just a little higher than your skill level, or your skill level is a little higher than your challenge level. But they're meeting each other more or less at the same level. And so, if you're bored or anxious, in your business right now, the thing to do would be on a daily basis, have a dialogue with someone who can help you increase the challenge or reduce the challenge or manipulate both challenge and skill on a daily basis in a little small little steps towards getting you to flow state. We've seen it successfully done. I've seen it successfully done about 3 months. You can do that if you are diligent enough. Usually what we see in our programs, we're seeing in our current program intake as well, that people's stress levels usually go down from about a level 10 to about a level 4 within 3 months. Can be done. And with that comes a lot of creativity and the state of flow like I showed here. Those of you who are on the computer, you can also see the second diagram that more or less represents how most people move up to the flow channel or the flow state. And so if you're in anxiety, the diagram looks a little different. There's a little jagged graph that takes you from the anxious state to the flow state. So again, if you manipulate the challenge and the skill levels on a daily basis, you can get there. Now, there's another critical part, and this is my own original addition to this model, which is, there's a third dimension to this, which is vision. If you increase your vision or the game you play in, if you play a bigger game, then this whole graph is going to change. See, for some of you, you may have to start playing a bigger game. You're playing too small. That's why you're bored. Or you may be anxious because you're playing too small because you're fed up with the way things are going. Your anxiety is just too high because you're not satisfied. And you need a little bit more challenge perhaps to bump you to the next level. Can be kind of subjective, but for the most part, these graphs are pretty realistic. But the point I want to leave you with is the addition is that if you increase your vision or increase the game you're playing, you may be able to get to a whole level of operation effectiveness. Now, there will be short-term suffering in most of this because you got to deal with the discipline it takes to manage your challenge and skill levels and to discover what that vision is. Sometimes it's tricky finding what the new game could look like. But, if you don't do anything, you're going to be stuck. It's a definition of insanity. Most people try to do, a quick result or a quick thing. So they think, I'm going to buy some social media program and that will get me out of this funk. It might for a while because it's something new and novel, but that usually doesn't last long. You've got to do something a little bit more sustainable, like increase the challenge and the skill level and the vision in a way that has you head towards the objectives that you want to head to. If you want to make more money, you want to make sure that you're clear that the challenge level you're identifying is the right one. If you're weak in your marketing, you need to increase your challenge level. If you're weak in discovering where your target markets are, you need to increase the challenge level there and your skill levels as well. So you got to do both. Looking at the tactical stuff as well as higher level stuff like I'm describing here, higher level thinking, okay, where's my challenge level at currently in some of these domains in sales and marketing, especially, or business, running a business? Is my challenge level or skill level at the right place in managing my team if I have a team of salespeople or a team that I work with? So you got to look at all of that. If you have a team that's unchallenged, then you got to look at that as well. I myself had to go through this exercise about 2 weeks ago because one of my admins was under capacity and she complained to me, I'm not getting enough work. Now, bear in mind, she's complaining to me and she's not getting enough work. So I had to increase the challenge level quite a bit. And I did. And it's good. Now she's really happy. She's in a flow state. She's appropriately challenged. She's learning stuff. And so you want to watch that. Those of you who are, who have teams, you want to watch that as well. So breakthrough, what we found, the second mindset is usually a set of small daily steps with increasing focus. This is why coaching works. It's the difference between coaching and getting training. A coach is someone who can work with you more frequently so that you can make the small little steps on the way, increase your focus as you go. And when you increase your focus, your return on investment and your time increases as well. Every hour you spend produces more money, produces more results. So what we found in our programs is usually, that's why we work with people every day. I work with people every day, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, through emails or short phone calls, long phone calls if necessary, to get them to the breakthrough state, because that's what it usually takes. It's easy enough to talk about it at a seminar. You go to a seminar, you get excited about it, but that turns into bukaka. Bukaka is a technical term that means bukaka. It's not just nonsensical. Unless you are going to practice on a daily basis, refining your steps and your action items, you're probably not going to get to a breakthrough level. If you do, you're lucky. and bless you for being lucky, but you don't want to rely on luck all the time. You want to rely on the focus and the daily attention to your details. So again, I can't emphasize enough that it requires daily attention and dialogue. That's what makes a difference. So it's what made a difference for Rob Ross, Charlotte Jacobs, my clients that I mentioned earlier, as well as for me, and certainly for Bill and I. Bill and I talk almost every day, almost every couple. I mean, he and I are on Skype, we're engaged in not just holding each other to account on what we do, but more so in looking at strategy and seeing if it works. We like to look at the numbers and see if we're on track or off track. That's a really good thing and powerful thing to do to building towards breakthrough results. I would say that's the primary reason why Bill and I had such a successful marketing launch a month or so ago, where we filled our class in a matter of weeks and made about $75,000. So if you want to learn how to do that, you got to really take on the daily attention and dialogue. So I hope that makes sense. That's a critical thing. Most people poo-poo it, look at it. If you do, I have no trouble with it, but missing, it's a huge opportunity cost in learning what could really get you to high levels of results. Okay, secret number one, and this is the blueprint or the one-year plan that we actually use in our program. And we want to share it with you so you have a sense of how you can do this. And you can try to do this yourself. I mean, you're certainly welcome to do it. But the truth is, what I've learned in 24 years is you really need a dialogue partner. You need someone who's going to work with you, preferably a coach or a mentor. The coach or a mentor is a very special kind of conversation. It's not a transactional or informational, although it's a lot of information going back and forth. Coaching is really about a lot of listening. See, my coach listens to me, pays a lot of attention, and then helps me connect the dots and making the decision that I feel comfortable doing. And that's important to have, because most of us don't have that. We live and work in a vacuum where we don't have that consistent dialogue to get clear. So we have a lot of lack of clarity on a day-to-day basis that stymies us, has us be stultified in our progress. And to move out of that, you got to do it almost day to day. You got to develop a practice of getting unstuck quickly. You shouldn't tolerate being stuck for more than a day, any kind of decision, unless it's a complicated decision. Sometimes you may require a bit more time. But uncomplicated decisions, you shouldn't be stuck like that. You should be moving very quickly. Okay, so having said that, the plan. There are 3 stages in this plan. And I'd like to really listen keenly here. Because we are giving away a lot of what we do here, okay? 3 stages, 4 months each. The first stage, we do 2 things in parallel. We build your content in the traffic. And this is where Bill's a master expert in. There are certain mathematical things that we want to get to. That's right, Bill, you are the king of this. No doubt about it, no doubt about it. A couple of foundations that you got to build traffic, start building traffic. It takes a while for traffic to come in. So you got to build a foundation. It takes about 4 months sometimes to do that. You got to start building articles. But if you do it over a year, you can build an extraordinary amount. You can build a library of 400 to 800 to even 1,200 articles over a year. Can be done. I've measured. I've looked at the numbers. It's entirely possible to do it. And if you do that, you're going to almost certainly kick out your competition, because I assure you most of your competition probably doesn't do that. So that's part of what we do in the first 4 months. The second part of what we do in the 4 months, is also important, is to figure out your target market or markets and figure out the sales funnels and the marketing copy that you need to go that's going to help people convert, at least online, if not offline, to customers. You have to figure out your marketing messaging, whether you're doing it online on a website or offline when you're talking to people. You got to talk in a compelling way, creates effective future-based ideas for people. They get reacquainted with their dreams again. Remember, most people buy, even if it's small things. Big things, doesn't matter. They buy on the basis of their emotions. You have to engage with people like that. It's a tricky conversation to learn and master, but you have to learn and master it. In the first 4 months, we help you define what that marketing strategy is, what you should do. You should spend some time trying to define your marketing strategy. What is your sales funnel going to look like that will guide someone in that market from not knowing you to building trust with you to eventually becoming a high-paying client or customer. You need to have those sales funnels clearly identified and measurable. If you don't have that, then you don't have a dashboard or something that you can control or manage in your business. It's very difficult to do so. You're flying by the seat of your pants. So you set that up in the first 4 months, your target marketing strategy, etc. The second 4 months, we continue with building your content. Some of you are interested in social media. We help you build your YouTube video or your Twitter or your Facebook if it's relevant. But what we found is content marketing is probably the best way to go. It's organic, works, it's affordable, doesn't cost too much money unless you hire someone to do it. You can talk about how to do that, structure it. But that's the second 4 months. The other thing we do in the second 4 months is to plan your launch, which will occur in the last 4 months. Now, this is important to understand that, most of you do marketing all the time, which I totally agree. That's what we do as well. But you want to do a launch, a more focused launch from time to time. And that's where, if you do it right, you can actually expand your database considerably. So you want to plan your launch for the last 4 months in the second 4 months. And in that second 4 months, we look at establishing partnerships. What are the partnerships you can build in your community that help expand your market? Who are the people that you can share blog articles and links with so you can expand your audience even further that way? But we're also looking at planning out the launch in the last 4 months. What are the stages that we need to prepare? What are the technical aspects of that launch? Launches can be very complicated, but very rewarding if you do it right. But again, it takes a lot of planning, a lot of forethought, and you want to spend a couple of months doing that before you get into the launch, which will be in about the last 4 months or so. Okay, and so those are the stages. What you want to be doing monthly, so what we do, what I invite you to do is to look at creating 4 objectives for the year, maximum of 4. Now, you may have more than that. I know a lot of you like to have lots of objectives. The truth is, most of them won't happen, right? And I'm not trying to be insulting, I'm just telling the truth. Some of you may have all of them happen, and no contention with it. But most of us, what I invite you to do is to identify the top 4 priority, maximum 4 high priority objectives. It could be less than 4, maybe 1. And that's fine. That's even better. The lower the number of goals you have, the higher quality, the higher accuracy, the higher probability of you attaining those goals. So if you create a long-term objective like that, set of 4, then what you want to do is, and this is what we do with our clients, is help them break it down to a monthly basis where they need to be. So if you have a set of 4 milestones every month that tell you where you need to be on the road to your final objective, you're now cooking with gas, because now you know what your expectations are for the month and for the next month, and you can start planning ahead. Most people don't plan ahead, or don't plan at all, and no planning is pretty much planning to fail. So if you're planning, you got to look ahead. There's another advantage in planning long term, looking at 1 year. Stress levels tend to go down. Very simple to understand. You don't have, you're not like looking to achieve something in the next day, which is where most people's stress comes from. They're only looking at planning the next day and they're lost. And there's some additional stress because they don't know where they're really heading in the long term. It's always a remaining question for people, right? Okay, I'm going to do 2 sales tomorrow, but does that mean anything in the long term? Am I really going to be satisfied? Am I really going to have the amount of money I want for the year? Will it build for the second and third year? Or am I going to do the same thing again next year? So if you start planning like that, then you can break it down to monthly milestones. And your monthly milestones should be numbers or observable events. So numbers like, okay, I should be at least by the end of January of next year. If I want to hit my year goals next year, I got to be at least at $25,000 of sales, as an example. Or I got to be at least at $1,500 of sales, right? So if you set it up like that, and I invite you to set it up conservatively, so you start low ball numbers, And then as you build up more steam, then you can increase your numbers in your challenge level a little bit more. Remember, keep in mind the flow state, managing your challenge and skill levels when you're doing the planning. And then what we do with our clients is eventually when people get used to this system, sometimes takes a few months to do this, but we start looking at weekly objectives as well as monthly and yearly objectives. This is where it starts getting fun because they can start seeing how what they're accomplishing for the week is actually truthfully, numerically adding up to their month, which is also adding up to the year. So they build confidence in their ability to hit their yearly goals. One of the biggest things I found with in doing surveys of clients and people in my industry, or my market, is the biggest challenge or stress level is that they won't hit their yearly goal again. It's pretty sad. A lot of people feel that they don't, and they won't, and they usually don't because they don't create the structures that are required, which I'm sharing with you. It takes quite a bit of structures, the planning, etc., to really set it up right. So, and then we break it down daily too sometimes. Now, we don't go crazy with this. Like we plan out every single day. No, you don't have to do that. Plan out just the next day based on the weekly and your monthly objectives, and you'll be fine. You do pretty good. It doesn't mean that every single daily objective has to add up to your weekly or monthly, but a fair percentage of it should. Otherwise, you're lying to yourself. And this helps you create realistic goals. You can adjust the goals. It's very flexible. It's a flexible way of planning. It's a flexible way of running your life. You don't have to run ragged. It keeps you just at the right amount of challenge and stress level. You need some stress to instigate you, but it doesn't overstress you. Is it perfect? Obviously not. But does it work for the most part? Damn straight it works for the most part. This is how I do it. Everything I share with you, I do as well. And Bill and I do in our business as well. We plan out, as much as we can the next few weeks, the next few months. And it makes for a lot less stress and a lot more joy. Okay. So, if you plan out your sales, you're more likely to hit your sales, especially if you do long-term planning like this. The trouble I've seen with most people is they're actually performing under what they can perform. Most of you may be surprised, but you're probably about 50, maybe 75% underperforming right now. So if you're, for example, if you're only making 100 grand, you could be making, 150, 175 the next year, with just some planning. You probably could, because what planning does is it exposes all the opportunities as well that you're not taking advantage of. So I hope that makes sense to you, and you take it to heart. Okay, all right. So a case study, a quick case study here. This is a business consultant I work with, MJ. Before he started working with me, barely making expenses. He was making enough every month, but he was living a little bit off credit cards and then paying it off. So he's going up and down in his net assets, which is not very good. Primary objective was to at least break even on expenses without dipping into his credit card. He had very low goals, because he had been trying a lot of things for a while. And the primary challenges were little or no sales experience, at least in his world. Time management, he couldn't manage his time very well. He wasn't very focused. Had a lot of overwhelms, mostly an overwhelm and anxiety. Some days just completely paralyzed. He was a smart guy, and when I talked to him and I tested him out in sales conversations, he's actually really good in the sales conversations. But he needed some fine tuning there for sure, because he wasn't asking enough questions. So he was a little harsh on himself, but those were the challenges. No, he didn't feel like it's more like no confidence in sales. Time management was weak. Overwhelm and anxiety were ruling the day. So he couldn't really get a lot of stuff done. So the process, again, we went through the stages I just described. We started with the target market. What we found very quickly was he had like 8, 9, I can't remember the exact number, target markets, way too many. He was driving a lot all over the Bay Area every day, and it had little to show for it. Good thing he had a hybrid, kept his gas expenses down. But what we did was we tightened up the market. We restricted the markets to three, the top three markets. We investigated the markets. We did some interviews. I helped him analyze the interviews, and he found out how he can convert a lot better and a lot faster. We also did a lot more outreach to those targeted markets, and that helped create a lot more inflow of traffic coming to his site looking for him. Okay, so we have to do both. We have to do good pipelining as well as making sure the target markets are very tight. We planned for a launch, and then we executed a launch. Now this is a little bit more compressed than how we usually do it. And so he went through a more accelerated program. He paid a little bit more to us, but we worked with him. I worked with him, and but we did the stages. We went through the stages. We planned the launch, and we executed the launch. One thing that really helped was to do the daily emails. We did daily email exchanges to stay on track, which really helps, makes a huge difference for people. We did about a dialogue or a coaching session about every 2 weeks. Initially, we did it about every week for 3 weeks, every month. And he said that this was imperative to my success. That was his exit interview when he completed his first stage of coaching. He's still coaching with us, but that was his first stage of coaching, and he did that. In that dialogue every 2 weeks, what you want to do when you do this, if you decide to do this for yourself, I don't really recommend, but you could, it's possible. What you want to do is refine your vision. What's your vision? What's your long-term objectives 5 years from now? Is it strong enough, compelling enough? 1 year objectives, are they strong enough, compelling enough for you? Is it realistic for you? Is your strategy, your marketing strategy on track? Does it fulfill the needs that would be required to be fulfilled to hit those objectives for the year? Is your plan on track? Are you hitting the milestones, or are you lying to yourself? You got to resolve breakdowns very quickly. Breakdowns are just bumps in the road. Most people get freaked out and they go, "Oh my God, someone, my best client said he's not going to work with me anymore. Oh my God, no, it's a bump in the road." You survived things in the past before. You never died. You're still here. Admit some things could kill you, but not losing a client. So it's a bump in the road. You're going to learn how to deal with bumps in the road and recover fairly quickly. And then, the dialogues also help them stay energized, in action, and focused. I mean, how many of us get stuck in our own heads on a day-to-day basis? My coach, Chris, he and I talk. It takes 5 minutes. I'm already engaged. When Bill and I talk, I'm always energized. And I know Bill feels the same way too. It takes like 5 minutes, and we're like, engaged and looking at possibilities now and what we can do in the future. Most of us stay in the past in most of our day-to-day work, and that's not the best place to live. And I fault no one who feels like they should live there. That's fine, but I'd rather live in the domain of possibility. And having dialogue is what really moves us forward. We are essentially social animals. That's how our brain was developed, to socialize, and in the act of socializing and languaging and talking, that's why we get energized. Some of you may be already experiencing some energy in just this being in this webinar, for example. And then the training and sales conversations. You want to really take on training yourself to be effective in sales conversation. That takes practice. When I first started, I practiced every single day in the car, right during lunch, my lunch break when I was working as an engineer. In the evenings, whenever I had an opportunity, I would look at my script, practice it in the mirror, record it, ask my coach questions, and that's how I improved. Within 3 months, I really got really good. I was surprised myself. For an engineer who had a thick frown and a thick mustache, didn't look very enticing or friendly to people, I did pretty all right, So the outcomes for MJ: triple income, excess of savings within 4 months. That was about the tail end of his launch when that happened. Used savings that he created for more marketing and hired his first admin. That was great for him. He was tired of doing filing. Like me, I don't like doing filing. Second breakthrough in the next 5 months, first large deal he ever had that was over $10,000 for him. He's a business consultant. First year of breakthrough, but also was a breakthrough year for him. He had more money than he ever made before. It was multiples than he made. But this is the key thing, and this is what I want you all to understand very well. So we're looking at the second and the third and the fourth year. Because if your first year is set up right, if you learn how to set up all these structures we talk about, now you've got a solid foundation for the second year being even more different from it was before. You're not going to have a repetition years. You have the same New Year's resolutions year in, year out. You're going to have different year resolutions that are going to surprise you. You may want to do, wow, we're making enough money. Let's take a month and a half off and do a sabbatical, right? I did that in 1996. I remember the first time I ever did that. Wow, that was so sweet. That was unbelievably good. I remember waking up one morning and thinking, I have to be at work, don't I? No, I freaked out. I had to be at work. And I suddenly realized, oh, yeah, that's right. I don't have to. So anyway, I want to share that with you because to set up for a breakthrough, you want to set up for breakthroughs for the following year as well. So you have to think like that as well. So the second year was the first time he ever had a six-figure income. And you have to understand, for him, it was a huge breakthrough. Some of you, that may be passé. Some of you, that may be really great. But whatever it is, you want to look at really not the numbers necessarily, but really the spirit behind it, what it takes to really create the breakthroughs. Okay, moving on. So, the question I always ask is, how hungry are you for more in life? This doesn't mean like, you got to strive for everything and be ambitious and, compromise your values and integrity. I don't think you have to. You can be really happy like the kid I'm showing in that middle PowerPoint slide. Those of you on the phone may not be able to see it, but, there's a really happy little kid there. It's delightful, right? You want to bring that back in your life and have that run your life rather than everything else that may be. You have to learn to trust yourself. Yeah, and listen, I'm like every other human being. I wake up sometimes on the wrong side of the bed, but I have a strong practice that has me recover very quickly. And I look at my vision, and I've learned to trust myself in that vision. Even if things go bad or things don't go as well as I think they should, I've learned to trust myself and the planning. And I know even if I were to fail miserably, I'm still going to learn a lot, and I still can recover. And so when you trust yourself, you start getting to more of an investor mindset. Learn to invest in yourself and your business, and that's imperative to get to the next level. If you don't invest in yourself or in your business, you're probably going to stay stagnant, or you'll go into up and down results at best. You got to learn to really trust yourself, that you know best for yourself. Okay, a couple of questions here. I've already gotten a couple of questions here, and I'm probably not going to get to all of them, but I'll do my best. And those of you I didn't answer, I'll email, by the end of today, I'll email you your response. I'm actually heading off to San Francisco to speak, but I'll make the time to respond to you all. Okay. First question is, not everyone is a perfect client. How do I handle this? Oh, that's a very good question. So when you have a sales conversation with someone, I'm assuming a one-on-one conversation, or even a marketing online conversation, so to speak, when you do your copy, your right copy or marketing copy, you want to have people see the richness of what you can offer. And you want to show them, sometimes what I do is I show really huge value, and I back up the value. I show why you can get this value. Oh, you can make this happen. This is how it can provide for you. It's solid value. And so when people look at the value and they look at what it takes to get there, then there's an element of truth. So the perfect clients are the ones who see the value of what you're seeing, and they understand very clearly that, the price means nothing compared to the value. And those are usually the most perfect clients. So yeah, you're right. You're probably not going to get perfect clients all the time, but you want to try and find out as quickly as possible in the sales conversation if they're the right fit. And it's the same thing in marketing. A lot of people think marketing online, a lot of people, they try to reach out to everyone. Oh, if you're interested in blah, blah, in plumbing services, click here. No, people are probably not going to click there. But if you, some people who need plumbing services or want to construct a new home, and you provide green plumbing, and they want green plumbing or nature-friendly plumbing, then they're more likely to engage with you. So my point is, even online marketing, you want to make sure that your copy eliminates people who just may not be interested in you, because you certainly don't want to waste their time. Neither do you want to waste your own time. And I mean that in a very good way, because if you're coming from service, you don't want to waste people's time. If you find out very quickly that they're not going to be a fit, move on. Now they may be a fit monetarily, but if you feel that they're not a fit psychologically or personality-wise, they don't trust you. They keep saying they don't trust you, even though you have a lot of credibility, a lot of testimonials. You're probably going to have that day in and day out dealing with them, and you're going to ask your question how far you want to go, right? But the thing I always try to do is to find out in a partnership as based way what people want. If I can help them in what they want, then I can continue to the next stage. Well, I ask them, well, what are your challenges and obstacles? If I can help them with that, then I know I'm on the right track. So it keeps the conversation more objective. And then I'll look to see if they're willing to really invest the money and the time and the energy and the other things they have to do to make it work, right? Now, the same thing pertains to products as well as services. You want to look and see if people are really willing to pay the money to buy a product. And sometimes you have to stand by the value of what you provide, because some people may not be able to afford it, but they may not be in your market. And you have to be really dreadfully honest about that. Okay. Addressing concerns, how to get concerns, both offline and online. Okay. Well, concerns, you can get to concerns by asking questions. And by the way, I'm never concerned or worried about people having concerns. Because that's usually a good sign. If people express their concerns to you, or the reasons why they don't want to sell, then you have some way of working with them. Now, sometimes those concerns can be something you can't really handle. I mean, it's just not going to work for you. But if it's concerns around money or a fear of buying your services or products, they're going to be taken for a ride, perhaps. Then what I try to do is to help them see what they can get. And well, first of all, I have them validate the concerns. So completely valid to have the concerns. But then I shift the conversation a little bit to look at what they can get. So if they have a fear of losing money, etc., look at, okay, this is what you can produce. And the question for you, John, is, is that worth the money and the risk that you're taking with me to employ my services or products to go there? And at some level, only you can answer that, John. I'm the expert in what I can provide for you. You're the expert in your life. But I can outline what the risks are and what the return could be. The return could look like you could make another 100 grand in the next 1 year. And your concerns, are, will you measure up and be able to provide me with all the things that I need so I can help you? Which is a common concern for a lot of people when they do coaching, for example. So, the question for them is, are they willing to trust themselves in order to have the opportunity to get to 100 grand, right? You see, what I'm trying to say here is sometimes in addressing concerns, you can actually turn it around into an opportunity conversation. And that's something that comes with practice. You have to keep practicing it in order to really get good at it. Because when you practice it, your brain automatically starts making these connections. Oh, he's got a concern. Oh, what's the opportunity? Oh, okay, if it's money, well, probably the opportunity for him is to make even more money, right? Or to save his money, or to look at how he can guarantee his returns by using your product or your service. If it's about time, then it's probably, wow, he wants to have a breakthrough in time. Oh, okay, so if you employ our product, you could save about 30% off your week in terms of work hours. Was that worth the investment into it, right? How do you get the concerns offline? Well, offline, it's really contingent on how well you do your marketing strategy. In other words, how well your marketing copy is, because really good copy handles the concerns upfront. You'll see a lot of good marketing copy out there in some of the more sophisticated sites that handle the concerns upfront, especially for high-ticket items. They'll handle the concerns upfront, again, depending on the market, but most of the time they handle the concerns upfront, what money, what they'll. So they transform the money concern conversation into an opportunity conversation. So instead of being worried about money, you should look at what you can get in return. The feeling that you get driving that Mercedes Benz that's going to cost you $50,000, right? But imagine the feeling that you'll have having your clients in the car in the Mercedes Benz in the luxurious leather style seating, comfortable, Imagine the kind of clients you could convert when you have a car like that. Will $50,000 be worth you investing to have $200,000 more from clients like that? Right? And that's just an example. But you see, you want to be able to transform the concern into an opportunity. Now, that may sound Pollyanna-like, but there are ways that you can ask questions to guide them to that. And you can ask them a question, well, is that worth it? If that was realistic, if that could happen for you, would that be worth investing into? Be worth investing in how you feel great about yourself when you make the purchase. How would you feel great? What would be different for you? Okay. And when you start getting people present to the future like that, usually their fears dissipate. Most of fear is because it's based in the present or the past. When you get people present to what they could create in the future, what's possible, what they could create that's positive, then people tend to shift their thinking. All right. Okay, I'm going to have to get to these other concerns and questions here through email. So what we're going to offer here, I know some of you may have questions, and I see some other questions coming through my email as well. If you have more questions, we are offering a free VIP, very influential person strategy session. This is free to apply for it. There's no charge for the session itself, and there's no charge to apply for it. We have very limited seats, and it requires an application. So you have to do an application. Now, we turn away quite a lot of people because people don't fill in the forms accurately, or they don't give us enough information, and there's just nothing enough at stake for us to really work with them. But you want to do your best to fill out the form with telling us as much about what you're hoping to achieve, why it's important for you. You'll see the questions there, and make sure you answer the questions. The form, again, is located at www.yourvipss.com, yourvipss.com. What we're going to do in that session is we're going to create a one-year plan. It's a 1-hour phone call. And what we're hoping to do is to show you a one-year plan to up-level your market audience. By that, we mean increase engagement, your sales income, as well as your audience, the size of your database. Looking at doing both in 1 year. So the entrance to this course is you have to come through and apply for this strategy session. Now, there's no pressure to buy or anything. We want to serve you. A lot of people who don't even buy end up coming back later and wanting to do the course at some future point. So it's perfectly fine for us to work with you, but you want to make sure you fill out the form well and good. Give us the details. Tell us how much you want to make. Give us numbers so we can look at what's realistic. And again, that website is yourvipss.com. Okay, so next week, Bill is going to be leading an extraordinary, I can't wait to watch this as well. It's the title of next week's webinar. We do these webinars every Friday at 10 a.m. We may not do one in Thanksgiving weekend, but certainly next week we're doing a webinar called 17 Ways to Monetize Your Website. 17 ways. I told Bill he's crazy. I told him in my mind he's crazy to give 17 ways away. Man, at least we must have like 200 ways in our program for sure. But 17 ways to monetize your website. And that's going to be next Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. We look forward to seeing you there and continuing this education with you. We're getting a lot of favorable comments. Thank you. Thank you for your comments and helping us improve this site as well. And we take that to heart as well. And again, make sure you go to yourvipss.com to register for and apply for your free strategy session. And we'll help you create a one-year plan to get through the next year and create a breakthrough. Look forward to it. Take care. Have a great day, and we'll see you soon. Take care. Oh, crap.